design a character around, I don't want to say a problem, but like all of my characters, I have a judgment. I'm like, here's what they're doing wrong. Here's where they're misperceiving. And I kind of think of the novel as something that's offering to either save them or help them destroy themselves.
I met her 2 days before Christmas at a holiday pop-up market. She was selling refurbished antique furniture which she'd placed around her taped off space like someone's fancy living room. She wore tight red trousers and a black shirt that looked like the top of a ballerina's leotard. Her hair was frizzy, bleached blonde, and she had a lot of makeup on. Too much, I'd say. Her face was pinched, as though she just smelled someone farting. It was a look of revulsion that awoke something in me. She made me want to be a better man. She was busy with a customer, so I sat on a chaise lounge for sale and pretended to be fascinated. I pushed at the springs with the palms of my hands. I lay down like a patient in psychoanalysis and sat up again. I took out my phone and played with the brightness, pretending that I wasn't staring at her. Finally, she noticed me.
King Edward, home on the range.
Was the first thing I heard her say. I had no idea what she meant by this.
It's all mahogany, late Edwardian. Only that panel has the inlay missing, the festoon there. But I like it without the mother of pearl. Mother of pearl would look chintzy, I think. With this shade of leather. I reupholstered the chaise in the leather from an old armchair I stripped on the side of the road this past summer in Abilene. It was like skinning a deer.
I turned back around to face her crotch. A tender triangle swollen and divided by the thick protuberance of her zipper fly. Thick thighs pulling at the weave of red wool. I had to marry her. If I couldn't, I would kill myself. I broke out in a sweat as though I were about to vomit. Field dressing. Field dressing?
Oh, are you a hunter?
No, but there's a book about hunting by this guy in Montana, I think, who says you should smoke weed when you hunt because it attracts the animals. Apparently they're attracted to it, to your energy and like the vibrations in your brain. I don't remember, not that I smoke weed, I mean I did in college. I'm 33 now.
You're reading a book about hunting.
No, I was reading about the book online.
Oh, okay. Well, all the springs are new.
Do you need any custom work? I have this ottoman.
Any custom work would have to wait until after the new year, but you can email me in the meantime and let me know what you have in mind.
I will, for sure. Thank you. I'm definitely going to think seriously about the couch. I was worried I mispronounced the word chaise lounge. Our hands touched slightly as she handed me her business card. And then she walked away. I went straight home and lay in bed, moaning in ecstasy over and over each time I read the letters of her name. Britt went. The next day, Christmas Eve, I met my friend Mark for coffee and told him that I was in love. Mark was my oldest friend, the first of many to quit smoking, lose his hair, and get married, buy a brownstone house in a part of Brooklyn that he wouldn't have set foot in 5 years earlier. Some of these friends had already conceived children at this point, which seemed preposterous to me at the time. I was nearly 34, approaching the end of my Jesus year. In Christ's honor, I had grown my hair out past my ears.
Britt Went? That's not even a name. That's like the beginning of a sentence. Where did you say you met her? Working at a furniture store? Nick, you went to Yale for Christ's
She
sake.
makes the furniture herself. She refurbishes the furniture herself. She has her own business. She's an artist.
That's an artisan. Did you sleep with her already? Has she seen your apartment? Excuse me, your room?
No.
I don't see why you can't date Becky or Elaine or Lacey Freeman.
God, gross.
Okay, no,
Lacey Freeman? Jesus.
Not Lacey, but Jane. Jane Germerath is perfect for you. Jane is smart and she has good boobs. Listen to me, Nick. Cut your hair. You look like a drummer in some shitty band. You look like a fucking bartender. And your scarf is gay.
This is silk, okay? From Barney's.
You know you can buy that shit on the street in Chinatown for like $10.
Well, you look like a gynecologist.
What does that even mean?
It means you look old. And, perverted.
What do you want me to do? Roll my own cigarettes and wear tight jeans? I'm a grown man.
Rolling your own cigarettes is better for you, less tar.
You're not in love.
Mark finished his coffee. Then he paused to watch a girl in a short skirt bend over to tie her shoe. A few days earlier, I would have clung to the image for weeks. The lines of her panties under the opaque black tights. The soft dimpling down the back of her thighs. When she stood back up, her thick, brown hair seemed to undulate around her shoulders in slow motion. Her face was irreverent, almost pug-nosed, mean, and adorable. But I was infected. I had Britt Went now. Other girls meant nothing to me. For the past year, I've been renting a room month to month for $350 cash in a flop house owned by an Hasidic slumlord. I had to myself an 8x8 windowless corner of the building, which had once housed a plant that manufactured little tongue-colored erasers. The place still smelled vaguely of burning rubber. There was no real heating system in the building, so the only way I could sleep through the winter months was a precisely arranged system of space heaters. The other tenants up there were all hip, young people. The building should have been, and probably was, condemned. The only furniture I had was a twin mattress and a low glass coffee table on top of which I piled my shoes, each pair in a Ziploc bag, to keep the vermin and roaches out. The walls between the rooms were single sheets of gypsum board. Christmas morning, I was woken up by my neighbors having sex. Usually I'd pound on the gypsum, but it was Christmas. So in the spirit of the holiday and in the honor of true love, I let the grunting slide. I stayed under the comforter with the laptop on my crotch, listening to the sex sounds and Googling Britt Went for the 1,000th time. The only Britt Went I found on Facebook was 14 years old, lived in Deering, New Hampshire, and posted inspirational photos of nature scenes with captions about how to be your best self. My Britt Went was a mystery. Looked at her business card again. It was minimal. Just her name and email address and the words redesigned antiques. The font was generic, Arial bold, cardstock flimsy. It was like she just didn't give a shit. After my neighbors finished, I considered visiting my go-to site for porn, but chose not to. With Britt Went to my floor, watching videos of strangers having sex felt sacrilegious. Hi, Britt! This is how I decided to begin my email. It took 30 minutes of Google image searching to find a photo of an ottoman that conveyed what I wanted to convey. I lived in an expensive converted loft, had a very high quality camera, and was a broad-minded music aficionado and reader of literature. The photo was perfect. Sunlight streaming in through a wall of opaque factory windows, neat shelves of books and records, the corner of an electric guitar leaning against the exposed brick in the background. The source of the photo was the for sale section of a Craigslist ad in Providence, Rhode Island. The ottoman itself was just a lame gray fabric-covered cube. I could tell it was worth more than the $15 the seller was asking for it, but not much more. I understood that I would be deceiving Britt Wendt by claiming ownership of this ottoman, but I reasoned that as soon as she fell in love with me, and perhaps she already had, the existence of furniture or loss, any trite reality, would be irrelevant. So I downloaded the photo, adjusted the levels in Photoshop, attached it to my email, and wrote, "It's the dude about the stoned hunters and the chaise lounge from the other day. Would love your ideas and a rough quote on reupholstering this ottoman attached. In vintage leather from your Texas roadkill or other source. Merry Xmas. Nicholas, Nick, Walden Derby Stern. P.S. Did the chaise lounge happen to sell? Still pondering. How could she not love me now?" I checked my email every 2 minutes. Each time I saw that Britt Wendt hadn't written back yet, there was disappointment, but also great relief. In the infinite realm of possibilities, I felt I still had a chance. My neighbors, through the gypsum, had gone out. The flophouse was strangely quiet. At such times, it was my habit to buy things online, but I had resolved to cut down on my spending. All I had to show for my earnings as a graphic designer were my computer and a rack of expensive clothes. Despite my refined tastes, I blended in easily with normal people. My clothes were just high-end versions of the crap that everyone else was wearing. My workday uniform consisted of black jeans from MDR, a plain hand-picked Pima cotton shirt from Headlast, a wash linen button-down and heather gray hoodie, both from Deplore, and my white leather high-top limited edition Chucks, or my perforated wingtip leather minor boots from Amberline, if there was snow on the ground. At home, I wore satin pajamas, burgundy and blue striped top and bottom from a show, and a heavy Peruvian parka I'd won on eBay. I'd recently splurged on rabbit fur-lined deerskin gloves at Modo, and a custom ordered cashmere hat from Natalia in Tokyo that I'd read about in Murray. I had to measure the circumference of my head for it. I rationalized these expenditures easily. Luxury accessories were better investments than, say, the $75 goat's milk soap from the Swiss Alps, which had taken a month to get through customs and lasted me exactly 12 showers. For the previous 6 months, I've been working part-time without benefits at Indent, a lifestyle magazine for intellectuals. It did not pay well. Until Christmas money from my father arrived, I would have $100 cash in my wallet plus a $15 gift card to Burger King that Mark had given me for Hanukkah as a joke. My bank account was empty. My credit card debt by this time was in the 5 figures. Without the funds to buy anything, I could only drift through online stores and put things into virtual shopping carts. It was also futile. What I really wanted was to run the tip of my tongue across Britt Wendt's pale, trembling throat and suck both of her ears until she begged me to fuck her. "Tell me you love me, or I'm pulling out," I demand. "Oh God," she'd say as I entered her. "I love you! I love you!" she panted every thrust. For the rest of the afternoon, I pined for Britt Wendt. I fantasized about our life together. We'd get a one-bedroom in Flushing, fill it with her furniture, cook roasts, and drink expensive wines with the money we'd saved by living in Queens. Our repartee would be rich in subtlety and sarcasm, as smart and funny as mid-career Woody Allen. Our fucking, like Werner Herzog, serious and perplexing. I can imagine Britt Wendt lying beside me in bed, her frothy blonde hair flattened into a fuzzy halo. We'd be like dope fiends for each other, reaching out our swollen hands for one more hit. Her body pale and freckled, nipples pink as sunsets. "The worse your morning breath, the more I love kissing you," I'd say, as I slipped my tongue into her hot, bitter, velvety mouth.
Ow! Fuck!
I burned my arm on one of the space heaters for the third time. When the sun went down, I checked my email one more time, found nothing, and I went out and bought a can of soup and beef jerky from a bodega and walked back in the dark feeling heroic and despondent. I passed the School Bells and Soda, a bar where all the young, hip gentrifiers of the neighborhood congregated and, as they tended to do, ignored one another. I'd been a regular there until mid-November, when I got caught refilling my beer glass from the tap myself. Mark loved to convince me of being an alcoholic. The School Bells story in particular seemed to arouse him. I made the mistake of recounting it to him a few days later.
Nick, I feel like an opportunity has presented itself.
What?
You've got a problem, and no one is going to tell you except me. But the fact is, you're an alcoholic.
That's absurd. Did you even hear the story? I only had 3.5 beers.
You act like a retard when you drink. Do you remember my bachelor party?
What happened at your bachelor party?
For God's sake, you called my cousin Daniel Herr Schindler in front of all the groomsmen. I'm Jewish, Nick. That means something to some of us. And why Schindler? How is that even funny? Do you even know what Schindler looked like, or are you thinking of Ralph Fiennes?
It's pronounced Rafe Fiennes, like rape, but with an F.
Fuck you.
Look, okay, it wasn't a great joke, okay, but Dan had been making a big deal about paying for the stripper, blabbing every chance he got, being a Schindler. It was a joke about self-interested generosity, the glove on the invisible hand thing.
What invisible hand?
It's like when people tell you they gave money to a homeless person, the invisible hand of selflessness, only it's wearing a glove so everyone can see it.
Well, you could have called him Queequeg or Alyosha, but did Schindler really brag? Was he blabbing? Is that the takeaway from Schindler's List, that Schindler was a blabber?
Sorry, it wasn't sensitive. I get it. Who's Queequeg?
The cannibal from Moby Dick, you idiot. In all seriousness, Nick, please get a grip on the drinking. Have some self-respect.
For the 6 weeks since the incident at School Bells, I limited my drinking to Fridays and Saturdays, and only beer from bottles, and only alone in my room, safely cast away in the dark corner of the flophouse. As a result of this discipline, I was sleeping better, my morning jogs were faster, my small talk at work was funnier and more enjoyable. When I met Britt Wendt, I wasn't bloated or burpy. My eyes were clear. I was in prime condition. Such self-improvement was worthy of reward, I thought, and it was Christmas after all, so I stopped in front of Iga, a Polish bar across the street from School Bells and Soda. I passed by it countless times, but I'd never been inside. The place was bigger than I expected it to be. There was no music on, nothing. The only light came from neon signs on the walls and an old light-up beer advertisement with a broken clock. The bartender was this woman of about 55. She smoked a cigarette and waved the smoke around with a thick, grubby hand. Her face, under the strange pink light, was jaundiced and waxy. Not unattractive.
Jewish?
Excuse me?
No Christmas for you, Jewish?
Yeah, half Jewish.
Half is good. You have both sides. What will you beer? Oh, you're a beer man? No. What about your Christus half? We celebrate tonight. You know Slivovitz? Handmade from Warsaw.
Jesus, it tastes like perfume mixed with battery acid.
Good, huh?
What is it?
I see blood.
Are you okay?
Another Slivovitz. You like it here? You know, nobody comes here.
It's great. After the third shot, she didn't say anything. She seemed deep in thought for a while. I can't really say what her deal was. It was like I had walked into some kind of cosmic warp zone. Then all of a sudden, she looked up at me. We locked eyes. She smiled cruelly and squinted as though calling me a coward. What nerve! To try to take me down, her only customer. I felt insulted by her bravado. So we had a staring contest, like a game of chicken, to see who was the least penetrable, whose mind would conquer whose. I felt my face go cold, my teeth clench. She was amazing. There was nowhere to hide in the eyes of this woman. I could see that she was reading me, and my challenge was to resist her taunting expression and to try to read her even more deeply, with even more scorn and disgust than she had found for me. I tried as hard as I could, but all I could come up with was my own foolishness. It was like I was naked before her, holding my own limp dick in my hand. It was clear that she had beaten me, but I didn't want to look away, nor did I want her to. I enjoyed the attention, the scrutiny. So much of my life I've been faking my reactions, claiming to myself and others that I liked what I liked because I believed it was good for me. Well, in fact, I didn't like any of that shit at all. The woman could see that I wanted to be ruined. I wanted someone, Britt Went, maybe, to come and destroy me. My eyes said, murder me, to the woman. Later that night, leaning against the mildewed tile of the shower stall back home, I looked at myself. I was beautiful. Legions of curious fingers should be reaching out to touch me. My arms were thick and strong. A spurt of wiry black hair rose from my wrist, trembling in the warm spray like a delicate morning tendril in the dew. There I was, spectacular and alive, and the whole world was missing it. Britt Went was missing it, most of all. Jesus. I thought I heard someone call my name. Some sweet angel descending from heaven just to appreciate me. I was that great. But of course, when I stumbled out into the dark hall, there was nobody. No one in that flophouse even knew my name. The only faces I could ever hope to recognize were the lovers on the other side of the gypsum. Where were they now? Dancing in the fucking moonlight. I stumbled back to my room, lay on my bed, checked my email, and finding nothing, cried a little with sadness, and a little more with hope. I fell asleep naked in front of my space heater. What are dimensions? All lowercase, no punctuation. These were the words Britt Went had emailed back to me on December 26, 7 minutes past midnight. I read them in the early dawn, my eyes still crossed with slivovitz, but the meaning was clear. She was interested. I read her email again, praised Jesus, and then ran to the toilet and vomited with joy. By noon, I was on a Chinatown bus to Rhode Island. My message to the anonymous Craigslist-generated email address had resulted in a tense and flurried correspondence with one K. Mendez, who would happily meet me at the Providence bus station to exchange the ottoman in question for $50 cash, a sum more than 3 times the original amount listed. My email to him at the crack of dawn, "Is the ottoman still for sale?" written in all caps with 7 question marks and 4 exclamation marks, might have come across a bit desperate. All he replied with was, "There are other interested parties." I had to pay him what he wanted. After spending $20 on my round-trip bus ticket, I'd have only $5 of change through the new year. I'd never been that broke before. I'd have to live off ramen, give up a few days of cappuccinos, but it was worth it. I figured I could go to Providence, buy the ottoman, turn around, get on the next bus home, and email Britt went back by 9. I would have no book, no earphones, nothing to distract me from my thoughts and thirst and hunger and headache for 3 hours and 7 minutes, but I could live on cold, potty-scented air for as long as it took. Soon, Britt Went would be safe in my arms forever. Halfway to Providence, the bus stopped at a McDonald's outside New Haven. In the bathroom, I studied myself in the mirror. If my 22-year-old self could see me now, I wondered, what would he think? What would he say? I wore my double-breasted cashmere pea coat from June Tree, a 2-ply cashmere turtleneck from Boxtrot, a vintage Fendi belt, my usual black jeans, my amberline boots, the hat from Japan, my scarf, the rabbit fur-lined gloves. Imagine what Nick at 22 would say. "You look like a tool." But my hair. Would a tool have Jesus hair? Yes. He was 36 minutes late, and I was ready to crumble. Finally, a kid in his early 20s holding the ottoman got out of the taxi and strolled towards me. He stopped and held the ottoman between his vans. I worried that the upholstery would get stained from the dirty, salted slush on the ground, but I was too stunned by his pluck and swagger to air that concern. "Are you K. Mendez?"
Yeah. You dick?
Yeah. Here you go. 50 big ones.
Oh, it's $200 now, plus the cost of the taxi.
That's insane. I have $55 and a Burger King gift card. That's all I've got.
Yo, fuck Burger King.
No, wait. Come back. I'll give you this. It's a silk scarf. It's from Barney's.
Yeah, okay. Plus your hat and your coat. That should do it.
This coat is worth $1,200. Take the scarf and the money.
This is a fucking collector's item. Expensive as fuck. Don't think I don't know my antiques, bro. You want the stool or not?
The kid was a fool, a punk, privileged and greedy. He was probably selling his furniture for drugs, but he had what I wanted. It was a bizarre standoff, and I probably would have won out if I had stood my ground, but I was impatient. My future was at stake. I came away barely clothed. He even took my Burger King card. The ottoman was a piece of shit, but that didn't matter in the end. Back in Brooklyn that night, walking home from the subway with my ottoman, I couldn't help but smile at all the nice, happy people. Each face seemed spectacular in its originality, like a walking portrait. Everyone was beautiful. Everyone was special. It was a cold and windy night, and all I had on was a t-shirt, but the moon was full. The sidewalks cleared of snow and sparkling with salt. fleet of fire trucks blared by, deafening and cheerful. When I turned onto my street, there they were again. The blockhouse billowed with smoke. Firemen strutted around the area looking for a hydrant. I saw a couple huddled together across the street from the blaze. They were naked except for bathrobes. I realized it was my neighbors, the lovers from across the gypsum. What happened?
They said they think someone left the space heater on.
Was it you? Huh? Did you start the fire?
Okay, calm down. Look, don't get feisty. But it's a bunch of crap burning up. Let's go.
I sat down on the ottoman and I said to myself, I didn't start the fire. This was an act of God.